So I'm kind of digging through saws now that I'm kind of semi back in the business again. And pulled the spark plug. It had plenty of spark. It had about 158 pounds of pressure, so it's got compression, but it won't run. And when I look inside the carburetor throat, it's dry as a bone. But when I pulled the top off just to see if gas was getting up there from pulse, it was. But you know something? There's no filter. So that begs the question, where did the filter go, if it had one? Or last time someone had the carburetor off, did they put a filter in there? The next thing it begs the question is there something plugged? Because that filter's gone between the top side of the carburetor and the bottom side. So I'm afraid what this means is the carburetor has to come off, and I didn't feel like doing that. But and this thing's got so much compression, I can hardly pull it over. And it's only an 85 version, 85cc with a 52 millimeter versus a 56, which is a beast. I can't even think about pulling those over. I got that 2100. Actually, it's a 298, which is the same family saw, running pretty nicely. It's got new oil lines and everything. I just can't pull it over, so someone trade me something for it. You know, if I can't pull it over, it's no good to me. It's a shelf queen, and I don't need any more shelf queens. I got plenty. But a young person would have a lot of fun with that saw. I think it's a beast. So let me pull the carburetor off. 1, 2 for sure. But I have to take that little bracket off. And carb linkage pops out right there. Come on out of there. Here's that linkage. Now, when I pull the fuel line off there, I have to pop the cap. Otherwise, it's going to come out under pressure because I did pressurize it some. So let's take a look inside that carburetor. These are the 4 millimeter through bolts. See if this filter holder comes out without me having to take the... Yep, there it is. So I can get the carburetor out pretty easily. Really, the only thing left is the choke. I have to wind it off the choke. See if I can do it with one hand in the camera. Here it is. So basically wound that choke lever out. See, I like these Huskies because, you know, they're that simple. Now that dirt fell in there. It wasn't in there, so don't get nervous. Let me clean it out. So this is why you always carry spares around. I've got these random bags of stuff, usually from other builds, and just so happens I've got a couple of better diaphragms. This is the one that came out. It's flexible, but it's real flimsy. A little stretched out. It's not the problem, by the way. And I've got this one right here, which looks like it's almost brand new. So I think I'm going to take that one out and put the new diaphragm in. Got this used one. It's not bad. Put a new gasket up on top, maybe. But I've got a couple filters and a couple of needles and things like that from a variety of different carburetors. So I have enough stuff to piece together the carburetor, put it back on, and see if I can get this thing to run. You know what I kind of like to do? This is the 285 that we struggled with for quite some time. And my God, it's got everything from cases to an ignition to a different top end on board. No. Yeah. That's the top end that came on it. Looks like somebody had a party with a hammer on that poor thing. It ran. Well, I got it to run. The other thing I found in my box of tricks is that filter right there. That's the one I had on it. I want to see if that one will fit. I had gotten those, I believe, for John Thread. We'll see. But either way, it would be a cooler filter. It'd be nice to get this to where it's an easy starter. It's so hard to pull over for me. So today is kind of like its last chance. If I can get it to run to where I can start it and run it, it'll continue. But if I can't, I'll just have to move it along, I think. I want to make sure the fuel line is not leaking. I don't know. Now on these, you got to remember, gasket goes underneath the diaphragm. And see that little slot right there? It's got to be captured by the metering lever right there, otherwise it will not run. Now, one of the things on these old Huskies is do not forget to hook on the choke lever into that little hole there before you start thinking about putting the gasket and the rest of it together, because you can't put the choke lever on after you got the carburetor screws in. Second tip is, you see how I have that gasket? While I'm still in that position, I ran these screws in where it actually pulled the gasket back just a little bit before I set the carburetor right down in there and set those screws. So first set the carburetor in and hook it up to the choke lever, and then set the gasket in. And if you can look careful, you'll see the carb screws are protruding just a little bit to hold it in place. And last, if you look right in there, you can see just a little green from the gasket. That means it's positioned properly. There it is. And there's your visual reference for the throttle linkage, fuel line, and choke lever. These things really need to have that bracket there. I put this here because that plug wire was really badly compromised. I thought it was shorting out on the cylinder, so I did what I could to put distance between that spot and the cylinder. It runs now. Throwing an awful lot of oil. It's good. But yeah, it seems like that carburetor did need a diaphragm. Runs a lot better. But like all saws of this ilk in this era, I'm going to have to spend some time with a screwdriver running it. Those seals have got to seal up again and all that stuff. It's an old saw, you know. So all right, let's see if this thing will restart. Should fire right off, right? A little oil left behind. Yep, restarts. We're ready to go with this one. I'll bring it out in the woods, I think, and see if there's something we can do with it that's useful. That big old hole there, we had to pull that dozer out of that hole. Took us about 3 hours.